Still not set yet?
Alder Burmaster, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
Okay. Call the Board of Public Works meeting to order. It is Tuesday, July 6th, and I have 6:31. Consideration and action on minutes from the roll call. I'm sorry. Yep, I skipped that. So roll call. So Mayor Kim Smith.
Here.
Alderman Jim Olson.
Here.
Jared Holter.
Here.
Bud Bueller.
Here.
And Stephen Knott is here. Now, consideration and action on minutes from the previous meeting.
I move we approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 3 is public input. Public input will be limited to 3 minutes per individual. If you do come forward for public input, please identify yourself by your name and your address. First call for public input.
Good evening. I'm just wanted to bring you up to speed a little bit. It's been a couple of months before I stood before you before. My name's Dan Ferries. I live at 402 9th Avenue North on Alaska here. And I want to speak on item number 4, the removal of sidewalk at 1023, 1025, 1027, and 1029 Lacrosse Street. I was notified that it was in need of repair, which it is. And the question that I have is the north side of Lacrosse Street from 9th Street up to 11th Street. And it's a fair stretch. It's probably a quarter mile. There's 3 properties that have sidewalks. All the rest have green space and pervious. And I like sidewalks. I'm a walker. I walk every day when they're practical. I would just as soon remove the 2 properties that I have. Jim Cole next door had his replaced. He only had 1 square. It just doesn't make sense to put a sidewalk there. There's sidewalks on the other side of the street, on the south side of Lacrosse Street. I don't want to say nothing is impossible, but it's not practical to put sidewalks in some of the residents because a steep hill coming down to the sidewalk, you'd probably spend thousands on a brick wall, retaining wall. So what I respectfully request is that you give me permission to remove the sidewalks. I'll bring in black dirt and it'll be conducive with the other neighbors on that side of the street. So I say, thank you for your consideration. Thanks for your service, and I'll be anxious to hear the outcome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sam.
Anyone else for public input?
Evening, John Hayes, N5415 Abbey Road. I'm here about item number 5, driveway repairs at my residence, and I'm available for any questions you have.
Thank you. Okay, we're still on first call for public input. Second call for public input. Is there anyone on the phone that looks like they're waiting? Okay. Third and final call for public input. Public input is closed. Item number 4 is removal of sidewalk abutting 1023, 1025, and 1027, 1029 Lacrosse Street on Alaska. Jared.
This is a carryover from the May Board of Public Works meeting. At that meeting, we had not had discussions with the abutting property owner, so it was referred for that reason. We have since talked to the abutting property owner at 417, 419 Michael Court. Just as a little overview before we get into that, in your packet tonight on page 3, there is a color map that does show in blue where the current city sidewalk is in this area and how it relates into the city sidewalk system. As you can see on the north side of Lacrosse Street, the only three parcels that have sidewalk installed at those locations are the 1023-25 Lacrosse Street, 1027-1029 Lacrosse Street, and the 417-419 Michael Court. There is sidewalk that ends on the opposite side of the roadway. As Mr. Ferries did explain, he is requesting the removal of the sidewalk. It is slated for repairs that have not been performed yet, awaiting the outcome of this action tonight. I'll have Kevin give a kind of an update. He did discuss with the neighbor earlier in last week about removal of the sidewalk.
Yeah, thank you, Jared. I was able to speak with the property owner of 419, 417 Michael Court. The property owner does reside in one of the units there. Brief 5-minute conversation. We talked about it. He had actually already spoken to the property owner, Mr. Ferries, earlier in the week, or was aware of the situation. So I just asked him his take. He said, all things being considered, he would like the sidewalk to stay. He doesn't have a problem with it. He allowed us to have it in. He understood Mr. Ferry's sort of objections maybe to the repairs, but at this present time, he was enjoyed the sidewalk, didn't mind maintaining it, paying for it. You know, we had talked at the board here about if it would be removed, if it would be something that the city would do, or if the property owner would have to take them on, those responsibilities on themselves. He was definitely against having to be forced to pay to remove it. Was said thing, if the city would remove it and restore the ground, he wouldn't put up much of a fight, but the overall opinion I got that he's okay with the sidewalk as it is. He lives there, he shovels it, people walk on it. He understands what it is to maintain it. He allowed us to repair it under the same program Mr. Ferries is questioning about the repairs. So that was about the extent of our conversation late last week.
Thanks, Kevin. Well, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion just to get some discussion going here. And that's, I'm going to make a motion that we grant permission to allow the removal of sidewalks at the stated as residents at the owner's expense, with the understanding if they do not take this opportunity, they will, of removing the sidewalk, that they will remain responsible to maintain the sidewalk until such a time as they were to choose to do so.
Second for discussion.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion by myself, a second by Jim Olson. Discussion. Hearing none, we'll have a vote on the motion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 5, driveway repairs at N5415 Abbey Road on Alaska. Jared.
Thank you. As during public input, Mr. John Hayes did offer via email a request to have his driveway worked on. This driveway was installed as part of the 2019 Abbey Road project. As you know, the city did annex Abbey Road and performed a storm sewer project, including the installation of curb and gutter, which necessitated the installation of driveway approaches to connect into the new street. At this location, we actually took out a little more driveway than probably some of the others due to some grade issues. So if you look at the pictures in your packet tonight, for instance, on page 3, or well, it's actually page 10, but it says page 3 on the bottom of the page. It was page 3 of the email. You can see the driveway that was installed. Mr. Hayes took this picture after it had been installed by our contractor. When the contractor went through, they actually installed the driveway in 2 pours. They installed the one side, then came back and performed the other side of the driveway. With the 2 different batches of concrete mix, You can see on the bottom of page 2, which would actually, should be actually page 9, a picture of the driveway that Mr. Hayes took that shows it today. And you can see that he actually has 3 different colors of concrete, the existing concrete that's closer to the garage. And then he's got the 2 pours that were done by the city in the picture. When we installed the concrete at the time, did not note anything that was out of specifications. We have seen this before where we've seen color differentiation. Mr. Hayes has requested to have the concrete resurfaced for an estimated cost of $4,200. That's included in your packet today. And then his email kind of outlines what his thought process behind this. He is in the audience tonight. If you want to ask him any questions, I'm sure he can come up and try and answer them. You have anything else, Kevin, from being out on site during construction?
I guess when we were out there, I didn't notice anything different from normal construction. I do believe Mr. Hayes we notified him that we would do it in 2 pours. That was basically at a request of the contractor. They were concerned about the length of the pour at the grade we were doing it at for the driveway, just so they could get the best product finish, is why they requested the 2 pours. We ended up doing probably 20 feet wide by 30 feet in length. Mr. Hayes easily got the most concrete repair in their driveway, and that was just based on his existing home. It was set a little higher on the road than some of the other ones. And just on the street grades, we knew going in that driveway would have a fairly long repair from the get-go. So, but I didn't notice anything out of place during construction.
Mayor Kim?
Thank you. Jared or Kevin, is this something that the contractor can be held liable for, or has that time frame lapsed?
The warranty period is lapsed, but the color is a very difficult item to institute warranty work on. If you have every batch of concrete's a little bit different. I know Mr. Hayes has stated he thinks that the River City in his email had a different batch of concrete. I guess we don't have the tickets to look at to see the exact batch that was brought to this site, but if you go around and you can probably even look, and the curb and gutter is a little bit different color than the even the driveway is. So, but I will say in this location it is there's a different color, but it's kind of part of the concrete, just the way the concrete cures and the way the product is. But
So I did take a drive around some neighborhoods, including Mr. Hayes's neighborhood. And what I'm seeing is that having an exact match on all pours on driveways is exceedingly rare, actually, and that includes in his own neighborhood. I'm assuming that since that number one, that having different pours for the stated reason of the contractor is probably not uncommon, and it's probably going to be very difficult to get exact matches when you're not using the exact same batch of concrete on the pours. What I did see was a driveway that seemed safe and serviceable. And I'm going to assume also that, when I'm looking at different driveways, as I did do drive-bys, the older driveways are more matched. I'm going to guess that's because of weathering, that over time, his driveway is going to be pretty much a match as well. I don't personally see that. What I also noticed too is that what you see in the photograph, and it could be because of weathering already, that it seems to exaggerate what I saw, and it could just be lighting too. As I drove by, there definitely is a difference in shading. That's clear, but it's not as pronounced as what it appeared to me in the photograph. I
personally don't know that this is something that I can entertain. I mean, if, I do believe that if it was my driveway, I'd be pleased. I mean, it's safe, it's serviceable, and it's concrete in two different pours. They're not gonna get an exact match. So. Any other comments or anyone want to make a motion? Yeah, Jim?
That makes sense to me, what you said, so. Are you of the opinion that that's
It's,
not as big a deal, or?
it didn't seem like it to me.
Okay,
And again, his neighbors all around him have multi-shaded, if you will, driveways. Probably because they had multiple pours also is my guess. I mean, that's just a guess, but it makes sense to me. Kevin, did you?
Yeah, right. I think the initial undertaking, anytime the city goes in and does a utility project of this nature, full repair like we're gonna do here in July, we're gonna give everybody at least two-tone of driveway, new to old, that's concrete or asphalt. So some of it, a little bit is the nature of the beast. I think in this state, it's just unfortunate that we may have got a little different mix, and maybe even the application of the pigment sealer. Sometimes the young guy goes heavy and the experienced guy goes light. So that could have been something, at least from being out there. I haven't seen anything that's structurally wrong. It's not pitting at all. I don't think there's a safety factor with slips and falls, because Mr. Hayes does have a little bit of grade on his driveway. So John hasn't said anything like that to me at this time. It's mostly pure discoloration that he has a tri-colored driveway, his existing that we saved, and the two pours that were made in the project.
Kevin, do you think that's, as the driveway ages, would that kind of even out or not?
It will fade a little bit closer to, the same color, but a trained eye per se, or somebody's in the will always know that it was three distinct, the existing and maybe two newer ones. But over time, yes, it'll sort of fade together, but it'll still be noticeable. Somebody's got a good eye.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Fred, did I see your hand? Yes, okay.
I guess, I'm not an expert on concrete, but I mean, is the first page, Jared, that's page 2, is that today's picture?
So the top on page 2 is what Mr. Hayes would like to have put down.
Well, that's what he would like to have now.
Yes, the
That looks
bottom,
like it's speckled, that's what I thought.
Yeah, it's more of an epoxy floor you might see inside a garage or a sealed.
And then the one,
the bottom of page 2 is what's labeled as page 2. It should be page 9, is the driveway today. It's actually upside down. And then the page 3 shows the driveway within a day or two of it being laid down.
I don't know, I just don't, I hear what he's saying, I can't believe that they would be, I mean, I've done a fair amount of cement work, and I can't believe that it can be that much difference in different pours. I mean, this looks obviously almost the way they trawled it. I don't know, I hear what he's saying. I don't know, I've got mixed feelings on this one.
Any other comments? I'll entertain a motion. Okay, I'll make,
Make a motion that we deny the request for driveway repairs at North 5415 Abbey Road.
I'll second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, item number 6, well number 7 and well number 10, chemical rehabilitation. Jared again.
This project is a continuation of well rehabilitation that's already been performed at wells number 8 and 10 and 9. We did budget for the work to be done this year at one of the wells, and we're anticipating putting the budget for the other part of the project in the 2022 budget. We did solicit quotes through our engineering consultant to have this work done. We did have two providers that we had quotes from, and both of these actually have done this work for the city already. So these are good quotes. The first quote was from CTW Corporation, and the second one was from Municipal Well and Pump. In your packet tonight on page 13, you can see a memo where I've outlined the costs for doing this work. And you can see Municipal Well and Pump has a cost for well number 7 of $64,779. Well number 10 of $83,491 for a subtotal cost of $148,270. With a discount if they're both awarded of $3,500, so it will be a project cost of $144,770. We did have these funds, as I said, half these funds budgeted in the 21 budget. We would perform the second half of the project after the 22 budget was approved in the winter of 22, the first quarter of 2022. Both contractors have done good work for us. Municipal Well is a provider that we do use to do work on our wells. So we are looking forward to doing this work. Staff would recommend we award this to Municipal Well for the amount of $144,770.
Any discussion? Yes, Mayor.
Thank you. Jared, I know this is a lot of money, so I was going to have you just kind of reiterate why this is so important and and the success we've had with the other wells, just for the record, please.
So through our corrosion control study, we have looked at various things within our water system. And part of that is the source water that we are drawing through our well, through the gravel pack and piping the screen that goes down where the water is actually comes in. Through testing with that, we have looked at biological activity and how that works into the fact that that biological activity will look for food per se. I think Mr. Andrew Jocks was here a couple of years ago now, but he actually went through the process and gave the hamburger example and things like that they're looking for food, and part of that leads to some of our copper corrosion. So once we have this actual work done on these wells, we have a process from Water Quality Investigations now where we do monthly and quarterly work on the wells to try and prolong the time before we would have to have the contractor come back out to do this work. So we are hopeful, based upon what we've seen at wells number 8 and 9, that we could extend that time between rehab. And these wells have been in service well number 10 has been in service since 2007, and has had no rehab work actually done to it in that time. And well number 7 has been in service since the early 70s, but that well has been pulled and the screen has been cleaned a number of years ago, but has not had any chemical rehab. So we really feel this is helping with our corrosion control process, including working on the wells, more unidirectional flushing, working with things such as that to keep our copper and lead levels down. We really don't have any lead problems, don't have a lot of lead in our system of any, but with all the copper piping within our system, in our last sampling, we did see our samples go down anywhere from 15 to 25%. So we feel overall our work is getting us in the right direction.
Fred?
Just to clarify, I thought I heard you say the word year 2022.
Correct.
And so none of this money is budgeted in 21.
Half of the money is budgeted in 21. So our proposal is to perform well number 7 in 21 and then do well number 10 in 22.
And with fundings for 22 will come from where?
The funding for 22 will have to budget. So it would be my recommendation that we would award well number 7 with the understanding we would award number 10 with it at the same time as with the understanding it gets budgeted and approved in the 2022 budget. And if it does not, then we would not proceed with the work of the second well.
Okay.
So the discount would come off of the price of the second well, the work on the second well.
So when you say budget, you're referring to capital improvements budget.
We budgeted this in the operating budget is where we have budgeted this for the first 3.
Okay.
Any other comments?
I'd like to say, I think Jared needs to make the motion.
I will make a motion to award the chemical rehabilitation of wells number 7 and number 10 to Municipal Well and Pump in a total cost of $144,770, with the understanding that well number 7 is performed in 2021 under budgeted funds, and well number 10 will be budgeted in the 2020 budget, and that will be pending approval of the 2022 budget.
Second.
Discussion. I just want to say, to me, this falls under the category of public safety, just as much as emergency services would, for example. And yeah, I'm not comfortable not proactively addressing these types of issues myself, so. Yeah. Any other?
We are hopeful that we will not use as much chemical as what is shown in these descriptions. So you can see that we do have prices for those things. So we're hopeful that it might even come in a little bit under, but this is the number that we're proposing currently.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next is alterations to Crestwood Booster Station Services Area Map. Jared.
With the recent development of the 4th edition of Country Club Estates, they brought forward their preliminary plat, and that preliminary plat showed that they were not going to connect Emerald Drive to French Road in the future. They're going to put a cul-de-sac in and the road's going to end. So on page 20 of your packet, you can see the proposed layout of the plat, and you can see the cul-de-sac about halfway through that chunk of land that they're developing. The area where that is shown then refers then to, if you go to page 21, there's a color map. And on the, I call it the yellow area. If you go to the yellow area on the left-hand side, you can see where that goes into the proposed area of the 4th edition of the Country Club. So the yellow area was what was delineated as the service area for the Crestwood Booster Station when the Crestwood Booster Station fees were put together. With this, the plat that has been brought forward by the 4th edition of the Country Club, they will not be using or utilizing the Crestwood Booster Station. They'll be utilizing infrastructure that the developer put in a number of years ago, the existing mains and the reservoir that was put in that actually sits above Country Club Lane. So with the plat, we will be having them put in a water main to get to the golf course, and then eventually we'll have to hopefully at some point get a crossing across the golf course to connect the French Road area to what we would consider the Country Club area of the high service zone. If you go to page 22, you can see a map that shows in yellow crosshatch what we have delineated as the Crestwood Booster Station area, and in blue, the portion of the plat that falls within that area that is not actually getting service from the Crestwood Booster Stations. There's a total of approximately 7 acres that are within the area but not getting service. So what I'm proposing tonight is the removal of the blue area from the Crestwood Booster Station service area due to the fact that it's not receiving benefits from that booster station.
Any discussion? Yes, Fred.
So would I be correct to say then is the fees that we had set up for the booster station, we would be short because
You would be short the 7 acres of the 330 acres within the development, correct?
Fred, does that cause a significant challenge?
I guess I'm
I'm
turning it
talking
back
about the money piece.
to Jared.
Yeah, so the booster station itself, we in reality over time, and it'll take many, many years to get all of this developed, just like a lot of the different fees that we have. In reality, some of it will never get developed. It'll be within the area, but it'll stay as non-developed woodland or stuff like that. So over time, we would probably never get back the entire 330 acres anyway. But we try and make our best guess at the time of what we think we'll get back. And at the time, We went to the end of the country club area from French Road, thinking that that's where, once it got connected in, it would be serviceable.
And maybe I'm confused, or I wasn't clear, but I was talking about, I thought your comment was that we're going to have reduced revenues.
The house loses.
Yeah. The water utility would bring in 7 acres less revenue, which is about $14,000.
Annually?
No, one time. It's a one-time fee.
Okay, one-time fee, got it.
Yeah, it's a one-time fee. But in a way, I don't think there's any way you can assess the fee if they're not receiving
Not
any
service
benefit.
it. Yeah, no, I got
So-
it. Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the alterations to the Crestwood Booster Station service area map.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Fred Bueller, seconded by Alderman Jim Olson. Any discussion? Did I see a hand? No, pulled back down. Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 8. Equipment purchases for 2021 Fire Department pickup truck. Go ahead.
So in your packet tonight, Fire Chief Goody is here. He is requesting equipment for the new 2021 pickup truck. This pickup truck was purchased using 2020 capital improvement funds that were funding the aerial apparatus. We got a very good price on that equipment. So we had funds that we directed through Board of Public Works and Council to the purchase of the command vehicle. With that, the fire department is requesting to purchase radios, a topper, and a slide-out tray for $26,271.52, as outlined on page 25 of your packet this evening. They do have a balance of funds left from that capital improvements purchase funding amount, and they also receive funds from the sale of their pumper truck. So there is funding available for this purchase, and it would be good to get them the radios, the topper, and the tray to use in this equipment. Speaking to the fire chief, we will be coming back next month with some other items, but they're trying to get the costs put together for those. These are the long lead time items. They want to get these ordered right away, so they didn't want to wait to get the other costs put together. So I think I got that pretty good, but Troy is here if you want to have further discussion.
I move we approve the fire department equipment purchases not to exceed $26,271.52 as described.
I'll second. Okay, motion made by Mayor Kim Smith, seconded by myself to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 9, purchasing salt brine tanks and utility vehicle salt brine applicator. This is a non-budgeted purchase. Jared.
In your packet tonight, I would go to, I lost some of the page numbering, but it should be 38, but it's the 2021 salt sand budget sheet that has black, blue, and red colors on it. As Fred knows, I've been coming in for about 4 years in a row now, and every year we've been over on the sand salt budget. This is the opposite year. We did not get very little snow, ice events in January, February, March. With that, we've got a full salt shed. Both salt sheds have the full capacity of 1,700 ton. With that, you can see tonight in the salt sand budget, we have what we have budgeted for the year. Purchases, we did top off the salt shed in April. We will be purchasing sand in November, and I did put in there purchasing 200 tons of salt in December. Sometimes we don't even get the salt in December, depending on what happens in December. So that's a conservative amount that we wouldn't even necessarily need to have, but if we would use it, I would want to fill the shed with this year's budget. We also will be purchasing some additive to get our salt brine so we can use it at a lower temperature. So there's 3 items that are left at the bottom. There's 2 utility vehicle brine units. So in the tool cats that we currently have, they have a homemade tank that they try to use, but it It's not a professional unit. It's hard to see around when they're using them. This would be for units that would fit right into the toolkit. We could then be able to apply salt brine to sidewalks. So in the long run, with the salt brine, we're going to save money by not using as much rock salt. And also they've got a wand, so then you can actually spray by the doors. You can, the maintenance department that does the sidewalks around the buildings would really have some latitude on what they could use it for. Also in your packet tonight, we've got 2 brine tanks. Currently, we've got 4 brine tanks. With this would top off, giving us 2 more 5,000 gallon brine tanks. We could be prepared for storms, and we're looking at using the additives. So we're going to be using up one of those tanks for additives. So we want to make sure we got enough room to put all the brine in that we can make. And also our salt shed, currently the older salt shed that was moved from our old shop to the new shop needs new treated plywood. That's got to come directly from the manufacturer. It's not anything we can purchase locally. So that plywood is very expensive. So the salt shed inspection that was performed this spring did not put it down as a deficiency yet, but the inspector told us that if it's not fixed soon, it will become a deficiency. So we want to get that plywood. Hopefully we can have the shed. Well, I guess I'd better sit on the plywood for a year and use no salt, but if we go through a winter where we can leave that salt shed empty and then have it pre-filled in the spring, we'll get in there and fix that salt shed. So though, even with those purchases, we're anticipating still having almost $6,000 in reserve for the year. So we're just looking to see if we can use those budgeted funds for things that I think are salt. They're snow related, but they're not exactly probably in the realm of salt sand.
So what I'm hearing then is that although it's a non-budgeted purchase, the funds are available within your budget.
Correct.
And I did quick math. It looks like you're looking for approval for 25,696.
Yeah.
That's what I had,
approximately.
Stephen.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. All right, I'll entertain a motion. Oh, wait, Fred.
Couple questions, Jared, I guess. Has anybody really been able to test what that does on sidewalks compared to the grass?
Compared to,
It's sliding onto the grass.
I think it's going to be better than the rock salt because the rock salt's going to bounce off. I have not seen, they have been using it for one solid year and part of a year before that, and I haven't seen any die off. I know we've talked to other municipalities and there's a lot of municipalities that are using it. One of our street public works workers that has been involved with the brine unit has actually talked to a group, and they said that the Mayo campus in Rochester doesn't use anything but brine on their whole campus. But I don't have any definitive information to tell you for sure that's, not going to harm the edge of the grass.
Any other questions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we approve the salt brine tanks. Do you need the quote for 13,976, or do you want to add that next page of items?
It's the total 25,696.
Okay. I agree with you. Make
Okay.
a motion for that.
Right? I'll second for 25,696.
Okay.
Mayor,
Under discussion, I'll just add that money is to come from the originally budgeted salt fund.
Thank you.
any further discussion? Fred?
The only question I have is a little bit, and it may not be splitting hairs, but if some of this is covering some enterprise locations, we should charge some of that cost to those enterprise funds and not all to the general fund.
We could look into that, and there's probably I think the brine tanks and the salt shed repair would probably be the majority of general fund, but the utility vehicles will be used on some of them, so we can allocate a percentage of that. And their operating budgets could handle the small percentage of what that would be.
We can just consider that understood.
Correct.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 10 is pay estimates. I do want to point out that you did have an updated monthly estimate placed in front of you that has an addition of item 11, 12, and 13 that were not on the original distribution.
I move that we approve the Public Works monthly pay estimates on the memo dated July 6, 2021 with 13 items.
Second.
Motion made by Mayor Kim Smith, seconded by Alderman Jim Olson. Any discussion? Yes, Fred.
The only question I have for Jared on number 7, I know that 270 was the budget, but is 273 going to pay it off? Or is there
Yeah.
more cost?
Yes, that's the final amount. So it is over the estimated 270. That was the original estimate that Lacrosse gave us, but they actually did a little more work. So our percentage, as a percentage based upon work, so that 273, 353 would be the final amount and complete that project payment. And there were funds in the capital improvements budget to cover that overage.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Who made the motion, Mr. Chair?
I made the motion.
And seconded by,
Jim.
thank you.
And I
All right,
think,
item number,
I think Fred should make the motion for adjournment because it's his last.
Okay, I make a motion to adjourn.
do we hear a second?
Second.
Okay, motion to adjourn by Fred and Jim made the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. I have 7:13.